right, are we ready?
Ready.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Team Spirit Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Carrie.
I'm Emily.
I'm Auryn.
And today we are doing part 2, talking about past lives and the experiences that we've had within that modality of experiencing your past lives, again, through readings or through regressions. And I'm going to get us kicked off because I've done both. And I think I'm going to start by kind of talking about the regression because that still blows my mind. I mean, how long ago was that?
Was that 21?
Yeah, so coming on 3 years, which is
Yeah.
wild. And I just want to say for all of you that are listening, if you have the opportunity to do a past life regression, I highly recommend doing it. I highly recommend a couple things. Taking off that day, because it's definitely very much, you go under hypnosis. So it's kind of like in its own right coming out of anesthesia, where you just feel not quite yourself. You don't feel grounded. So taking a day and experiencing that. And it's not even just experiencing the past life, but the healing kind of in between those lives, at least the way that I had it done, was just off the charts. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. And Lauren and I actually went to the same person. I feel like we need to say that too. But our experiences were very similar, but also like drastically different because we're two different souls having two different experiences. So when I went, it was in, I guess Lauren said 2021. This was before I really dived deep into my spirituality. I've always kind of had it around me. I've always been curious about it. There have been highs and lows, moments where I could dedicate a lot more to it and other times not so much. So this was like at a point where I was really starting to get back into it again. And I had heard this woman that we went to, I'll name drop, Karen Willis.
Well, for sure. Yeah, we'll tag her because that was,
Karen Willis,
incredible.
In Maryland. She's located in Maryland. She was actually doing past live readings on a very popular radio station in Maryland, 98 Rock. And they are like the #1 radio station in Maryland. Like, they're so funny. It's 3 guys. They're hilarious. And they had actually gone to her, and then they recorded it and they aired it. And it was just like, I remember it just totally blew my mind. And I'm like, I need to experience this, because they were so skeptic, like all of them.
They're not those type of people.
No, they're not those. This was not a spiritual type of like radio.
No,
they talk about sports.
Yeah,
rock and sports. Yeah. I had gone and I had no idea what to expect. I was so nervous. And the whole experience was about 3.5 hours. I mean, it was long. I mean, it was a whole half of a day. And what I loved about Karen is you really want to find somebody that makes you feel comfortable, because you are about to go into a deeper level of consciousness. And if you're super anxious, it's obviously going to make it that much harder to get there. And I want to say too, don't have too much concern about, am I going to be able to be hypnotized? I know I kind of experienced that. What if she can't hypnotize me? You know what I mean? And it's really not that complicated or that difficult to tap into these parts of your cell memory or your mind, whatever you want to call it. It's really not. And it took her, like, she talked to me for about 30 minutes and made me feel comfortable. She had asked me things like that you ponder, of kind of setting the stage for what you want to uncover. Are there phobias that you have that are unexplained? Are there triggers that you have that maybe you don't understand from this life? Like maybe like around money or poverty or whatever it is. And so she makes you, we kind of get that into your aura. So when you go in, those are the things you're going to uncover. I also want to say too, if you're terrified, we've all done terrible things. We've all lived terrible lives. We've all experienced major trauma, and it's not something that can be avoided. So if you're afraid of like, what if I did something terrible? It's like,
you did.
We all have. And also, you're not going to, spirit is a big part of this, of what comes forward. And I learned that kind of later through when I started doing past life readings for people. They're not going to show you anything that you're not ready to see. And I think if you trust that, I think that helped ease my anxiety. But she took me through 2 lives. I'm not going to get like super into detail about the lives, but I remember one of the things that I wanted to kind of have a better understanding or clarity around was that ever since I can remember, I have had such a phobia of losing my parents. Like that was just a really, or like my brother, like my intermediate family family, something happening to them. And I just remember being 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, all my childhood when my parents would go out or my brother would leave the house, kind of like waiting at the window. And if they were 5 minutes late, I would go into like an anxiety attack thinking they were dead. This was well before I truly experienced death in many ways throughout my family. So I never really knew what this was about. And of course, that first life landed me right where I needed to be to kind of explain or show why that trigger or that phobia existed. And the way that I experienced it is going to be different than the way Lauren experienced it or Emily experiences it. Everybody's different. So for me, it was like very short movie clips. Also knowing. So like when I landed in the first life, my brother was missing. He was lost in the woods. I was about 5 years older than him. And we were heading towards a tree line. That's the first image I had, was heading towards a tree line with a group of people. And it was like, we're searching for something. And I knew, I didn't see, but I knew that we were searching for my brother. So it's like, you're kind of using all your clairs when you're in hypnosis and you're doing this. And it was wild. Like, it was just, things just came. They just come to you. And I think that as long as you're willing to trust what you're getting, you can move through that. And the most incredible part of the whole experience of going into like a hypnosis was the healings after I experienced the live. So typically during a regression, they take you to like the first, like a core memory, a very important memory, maybe a couple of those, and then they take you to your death. And I think it also eased a lot of my anxiety around dying, because we've all experienced it many, many times before, birth and death. And kind of like the healing part of just feeling the energies around me that were stepping in during the healings, and feeling like a lot of that being released or let go. And we're 2 years, 3 years out from that. And I can honestly say that it helped my anxiety tremendously when it comes to like my husband, now that I have my own intermediate family, or my kids' safety, or if somebody's taking my kid somewhere and I'm not there, like I don't have that panic anymore. And I really think that that had a lot to do with it. So it's just an incredible way to release things that maybe are unexplainable. And it's very powerful, and very different from like now, where if you were to be a sitter and experience somebody reading to you a past life that you had. So that's what I do now as a practitioner. Emily, the same thing, when we go into the records and we access your past lives, and we are regurgitating what we get and what we know and what we see and all those here, whatever it is, you're not going to have that intense emotion to it. That's the biggest difference. Things might hit home. I'm not saying that you won't get emotional, but it's very different from experiencing it through your own mind, body, spirit versus somebody else reading it to you. Both are amazing, but very, very, very different. The last thing I want to say about it too is I think that there's a lot when it comes to like the regression piece. I didn't really quite feel myself for a while after that. And I think you need to be prepared for that. I think that there's like a level of adjustment that comes after these things are uncovered, and you know, you're reliving trauma. That's a lot of what you experience is trauma. And I think that's important too, but it's not to like re-trigger. It's so that you can let that go and you can understand bigger parts of yourself. So I definitely, you know, have a light schedule, take it easy, self-care, like that sort of thing. I still don't feel ready to go through another past life regression, and it's been 3 years. And that's just me. I think that experience was very profound, and it's not because it was negative, but just because I think I'm still, even 3 years later, working through alchemizing like a lot of that energy. And I think that's important to mention too. I wouldn't like willy-nilly book a past life regression. I think you need to really like make sure that you're in the right headspace. You know, I think you need to be in the right headspace. It's kind of like with mediumship, where they don't recommend having a mediumship reading like days after somebody you love passed, because it's all about your headspace and it might just be too triggering. So same thing with like a past life. If you're going through a lot in your current life, I would probably wait. But overall, I mean, incredible experiences with both, really.
Did you listen to your recording afterwards, or like how long did you listen to it? That I can't remember what she told us, like how long to wait.
I think she said to listen to it again within 72 hours.
That's what I thought, yeah. I think I
Because
waited like real close to the 72 hours because I just like, I was not prepared. I wish I had, well, first of all, when I booked it, we had talked about it and I was like, I'm going to book this. And then I booked it and I thought I booked mine after yours. And then so when I told you the date and I realized I went first, I was like,
and I'm like, yay.
And I don't think I understood the hypnosis part that was going to happen. I didn't understand like working through some of those things. And I wish I had. I wish I had talked to
Same.
more
That's why I'm
people.
trying to give like a little bit of a warning to
Yes.
people.
Yeah. And I
Because
think
I don't think
that's
I was prepared.
yeah, because even I was when we talked, I was like, I don't want to tell you too much and kind of then put something in your experience because I just like
No, exactly.
and hypnosis was something I don't know if you can ever be prepared for it until you've done it and you're like, okay, this is what it's gonna be like. And then I think that says a lot about the person you're seeing. She went into so much detail. I really feel like the first 45 minutes was all about her explaining in
Yes.
full detail what's gonna happen, what it's gonna feel like. I mean, she warned me about like the eye flutters.
Yes.
Oh my, and like I tried to open my eyes after the first experience and like because I was crying and she was like, you're fine. What you are experiencing cannot come into this life. It is it is that life, it is over.
She was
And I was in this
phenomenal. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I was in
That's
this
so
state of
important.
I don't know. It was very interesting and I think she made it all the better. And now having done it with her, I think if there was like a moment that I felt unsure about someone, I would probably just like leave.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I fully trusted this person I had never met because of how she really walked me through these things and made me feel. She gave me a bottle of water. She like
Yeah.
helped me. She gave me a
A
blankie.
blanket?
Like, yes. She was like,
Yes.
you need to feel your most comfortable because you're going to be your most vulnerable. And I was
Yeah.
like, what the did I just sign myself up for?
All right. Buckle up. Yeah.
Do you find that when you get a reading, it kind of has more homework to do?
What do you mean?
So, like, if I'm doing a reading instead of a regression and I'm kind of being told things about past lives, do you feel like it requires more of me to go back and think about, like, piecing together things that I was told about my past life to make more connections?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like I think here's the thing, like with a past life reading, it should be evidential. Like you should understand why you're being told. You shouldn't have to really like if you go to a very ethical psychic medium or reader or somebody that specializes in past lives for a reading, I don't think it should require a lot of work. I think that there should be like you pretty much understand. But if you want it to kind of like you don't get that sometimes you do. Sometimes like I know our mentor will do a past life and then feel that something needs to be fully released and there needs to be assistance. So she'll do like a healing.
Yeah.
But typically you don't get that healing part. So I would say if you're getting a reading and there's things that are brought up and maybe you feel a certain way or triggered by it in some way, or it brings up some feelings that maybe are unsettling, then maybe you need to go into a meditative space and, you know, work with your guides or the archangels to help you release some of that. Does that make sense?
Right.
So like I did a past life reading for Emily. So we were in class, we were in a private space. This wasn't on TikTok or anything. And Carrie, our mentor, had us doing where instead of going in and doing one life where we get a lot of detail, it was more like a synopsis of 3 different lives. And then going to the guides or the higher beings of the records and getting information about what are the similarities between these lives and what's ready to be like released. So I did that for Emily. And once I don't really remember what the lives were, but I remember very clearly what the similarities were. Like I remember it just really came to me very strongly. And then I felt like there was a need to do some sort of like trance healing, or I could just feel the beings like working through my body, like using my body as a vessel. And that can happen like as a practitioner. So Carrie had dad taught us a technique in doing this with working with Archangel Raphael. So he had kind of stepped in and took over. And I was just really seeing things very clairvoyantly of what I wasn't really doing anything. I was just the energy source of like where it's almost like they show it to you as like a mechanism that's attached to a part of your body or a part of like your energetic body or even physical body, and why it's there, why it's ready to be released. And then like they work through you in detaching that. And I know you had some pretty physical.
Yeah, I did, because it was, of course, it's always in my solar plexus.
Yeah.
And I remember what the message was, and every life it was that I lost hope because things out of my control would constantly happen. Like the potential was there, so I always had the potential to like do great things and like have a great life, but then something catastrophic would happen out of my control, and in each life I just lost hope.
That's right. That gives me chills again. So I mean, that's very powerful. I mean, even if you don't do a regression, like these things can be very, very powerful.
And it has to be really powerful as the reader to feel these things too. Like I imagine the healing that you're kind of providing is also kind of being done for you, because to hold on to those things that's coming through you, it still is harboring in you. Like you're still feeling those emotions of what happened to someone else.
Yeah. It's not, you do have to really like be grounded in that, because I rarely feel the emotional. I feel like, I'm trying to explain this. Like I can feel the emotions of the life, but I don't feel attached to them in any way.
I see. The kind of, so it's probably like watching a movie almost. Like you feel for that. You have the empathy for what's happening, but you know it's not yours. It's not your story.
Bingo.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's hard. I mean, we all watch movies and TV shows and we feel empathy and we like cry for people we've never met before, but then we also understand that's not our life.
Right.
And we're sad for that person. We feel for that person. Like even happiness, like, but it's not yours. And it's that letting go, but it's hard to let go. And some things, like, I mean, geez, there's so many things for like other people that I hold on to for days, like that I watched on TV. I'm like, girl,
you know, if you haven't, can you hand me, do you have the psychic witch? Can you hand me that? I want to show this. This is a really great book. I'm sorry to get off topic, but I finally actually started diving into this book. I'll look I use it like a library. I'll go into the table of contents. So this is the Psychic Witch, and it's written by Matt Auryn. And so I have been struggling with my energetic hygiene. I'm going to be honest with you. I have definitely felt like lately I've been accumulating things that are not mine and possibly giving away. Like, and I don't want to do that. Like, I feel like, here's what I think. This is what Spirit told me. I had it down pat, but I'm doing different things now, things that are a lot more like intense and very deep. So there needs to be like, you need to level up with your like energetic hygiene too, and making sure that like a sage stick ain't gonna cut it anymore. Like we got to do there's really good exercises like psychic purification. I just opened up to it, leaving heavy energies out of place. There's a whole thing on energy cleansing, and also there's like a magnet ritual that you can do to call your energy back. I started doing this because I read it probably 4 days ago, and I've noticed a really big difference like after my lives and stuff that I've detached.
I always think about you guys when I pop in and I see you guys do these really heavy like reads for people. I'm always like, I try and send you guys just like a little heart afterwards, because I'm like, that has to be
that's
so
a big
difficult.
part of development too. Like you cannot be emotional.
No.
Yeah, right. Well, it's kind of like your vets, your doctors. There has to be a separation, because you can't be sobbing for someone else's pet while they're trying to like feel like it's not your emotions to hold for them. Like they have to feel and work through it. And that doesn't mean you don't empathize for them or like be there for them, but like there is a big separation that has to happen.
Right.
And I think to a lot of people, when we talk to people in those professions where they really have to like have a separation, it can almost feel like they're harsh or like they're really cut off from emotions. Then that's not the case.
You have to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to get really sucked into that.
Yeah.
Emily, I want to hear her for sure talk about, she goes very, very deep into her past life readings.
Yeah. So what is your experience as a reader?
I think it comes so naturally to me because I'm a channeler. So I'm constantly channeling information. That's even how I do my psychic readings, mediumship. I'm channeling. So it's just,
you black out. You go into trance.
I embody the person.
Now, do you see it from bird's eye view or from their point of view?
Both.
Yeah.
I see
That's interesting.
Yes.
Same, both.
Did Carrie, when you did your regression, did you see it from personal view or bird's eye?
Both.
You did?
Mhm.
Wait, yeah, I think I did too now that I think about it. Until you said that, I never really realized, like, thought of it differently. What do you think makes the difference for why you see one way or the other? Or maybe it's just how it's served to you. Like, it's not a control thing, it's what you need to see and how.
Yes. I think.
And I think
spirit.
I think too that there may be, like, when they take you into the bird's eye view, it may be to show you things that are out of your awareness when you're in that life.
Yes.
And you're seeing it as you, then they're taking you out of that to see kind of like the bigger picture of everything that's going on that you wouldn't have had the awareness of in that life.
Right.
The full understanding.
So I get most of my information clairvoyantly and clairsentience. That's a word. I'm so clairvoyant that, like, I even see the numbers for the dates.
Not always, but I have.
I see 1856, 1772. You know what I mean? Like, I see it. And it's also a feeling too. Like, when you're in that universe, I guess, in that time period, you kind of feel it as well. It's so weird because it's like, and maybe it's more of a knowing because I can feel or know what they're going through in their emotions, but it's easy for me to separate that. It's really weird. It's like I split myself in two, kind of. Yeah, I'd say most of it and I see, like Carrie said, it kind of comes in as snippets, like little movie clips. I'm getting better at the clairaudient, like they're working on that more with me, but it's mainly, like I said, clairvoyance and clairsentience, and I guess claircognizance.
So seeing, feeling, knowing.
Yeah.
Carrie, since you've done both, do you think that like the explanation of that is kind of like what the regression is kind of like? Feel like when you do your own regression, Emily's kind of doing the feeling of the regression and like serving that to the reader.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, I forgot about this. I don't know that it was 100% a regression, but I had somebody, a practitioner, do like a past life guided meditation. So I was still seeing and experiencing one of my lives, but it didn't feel as intense as your guys' sounds. It was more like a guided meditation.
Probably like the guided meditations for the Akashic records. It's like a similar,
right.
Yeah, because that is very different.
Yes.
When I did the guided meditation, I was incredibly aware of where I was. And not that I wasn't when I did the regression and was like hypnotized, but
it's just a deeper level. I think it's just a deeper level of consciousness.
Yeah, there's like it's like there's the in between. And Karen walked us through the in between of like, okay, we're gonna go to this place, and so you understand like who met you there, and like you're not alone, and then you take the next steps, and then there's also the step to get back.
Matt talks about that. I would say that, okay, so this is what it says. You tell me what you feel like you were in. All right, I'll read alpha. So this is states of consciousness. Alpha occurs when we're relaxed, meditating, visualizing, or daydreaming. Alpha has access to the subconscious mind and occurs when we are receiving information passively, such as learning. Alpha is a state of consciousness that is most associated with psychic ability and the state of consciousness linked with hypnosis. So now I'm going to read theta. Theta is one step below that. Theta occurs before and after sleep. It is associated with light sleep, deep meditation, deep dreaming, vivid imagery, and high levels of inner awareness. In theta, we become completely unaware of the external world. Would you say it's a mixture?
I feel like think it was more theta being hypnotized.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I just felt in my first life experience, I came at the end of my life is where I arrived, and I was fully aware I was about to die. I was there where I was in time. I was about to die. And it was like I was going to be hanged. And I just like, and I was being such a little like shit about it because like I knew there was nothing I could, like, that was the end. It was over for me. It was a very interesting experience to be so aware of like the end of my life. And in those moments, I didn't feel my life now. I mean, I knew that was not my life anymore. But once I then like kind of went back a little bit to find out why I was there, when it came to the time for me to actually die, I had a problem leaving that life because I liked before I got there, how it felt. That's a life that I think I've felt a connection to all of this life, especially where like my nature in witchcraft kind of comes in, stemmed from a lot of that life I lived at that one point. So it was really difficult. But I mean, she said to me at one point, she was like, because we went right up to like, it was on, like I was dying. The noose was on my neck and it was time. And she was like, it can't hurt you, because I feel like I started to panic in this way and not in like I'm dying, like that life was over, period. Not that I had to, like, I'm not only just leaving, but that was the end of that life. And I was really sad for that, Warren. It was so crazy. And I do feel like there was a disconnection from external.
And so that's the interesting thing. I'm glad that you read that. So I do an alpha like thing before I do my psychic readings. I go into like, I do like an alpha meditation thing on YouTube, and you're fully aware. So I would say like, even if you're in doing like a YouTube past life, it's probably more theta. Hypnosis definitely, but then there's different levels to hypnosis.
Right, because the whole time when you're hypnotized, you're not, like, there were many points in between where I was coming and going. When I left that life, I was then suddenly very aware of what I was and that I was hypnotized. And that's when I was trying to open my eyes, and they were just fluttering like crazy. And I was like, oh, like,
and that's the frequency that you're getting used to. I mean, that happens like that happens to us when we do like a different kind of read that we've never done before. Totally. And just more validation of what you're experiencing is very real.
Just because you're hypnotized or in meditation like that doesn't mean you're asleep. It's not the same as sleeping.
No, because if I was in that chair and bombs started going off, I would have woken up. Like, you come out of it. Yeah.
I'm really glad you read that, Emily, because that's
really a good idea.
That difference is, I feel like it's also, if like, for our listeners and what they're looking to be interested in, to go in knowing, like we said, it's not a comforting thing for some people. And there's a huge understanding why. I don't know. I will say it was one of the coolest experiences of my life. And I really loved getting to meet not just past lives that I lived, but connections that I have had this whole time. And then it explained so much of why you meet people and you're like, I've known you all my life. And it's like, not just that, I've known you in other lives. And it's very special. It's really special to have those connections. Like Pixie, my cat, we have traveled together she's the reason I was hung, because that little bitch, she was not a cat in that life. Wow. She was supposed to be my friend, and I guess she got caught and said my name, got me weaseled out, so then I was the one who was killed for it. When I came to that realization, like when I listened back to it, was really funny, because she was like asking me questions. I was like, there's another woman here, and I was like, and she's like, you know her? And I said no. And she was like, okay, well, like, describe her, like, what do you think? And I was like, I think she's my friend. And she said, okay. And I said, but I think she's why I died. And she was like, okay. And then I was like, I think she's my cat. And she was, okay. It's cool to see, like, you're not always anything like what you are, or like the same thing or being. Like, she was not a cat. I came home and I said to her, I said, Pixie, this is why you were so nice to me, because you had me murdered, and who knows what else we've done to each other, but this is why in this lifetime you're like,
Right.
That's why we're such good friends.
Yeah.
It's an experience. I don't know if there's anything that can kind of be the same, be like it. Since you guys do it in so many different ways, like you've experienced it, you help other people experience it. Is there anything that's kind of like it, like similar to those feelings?
Sometimes for me, mediumship.
I was gonna say mediumship.
I could see that.
I'm able to like do trance, I guess, kind of. By no means am I an expert. It just kind of just happens. I don't really go into it. So I'm able to embody the deceased person. That doesn't happen all the time.
That makes a lot of sense because you're probably being served those same life instances and experiences in the same way. It's just of someone. It's both times it's of someone else.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think past life is a good, or Akashic records reading, past life readings are very much as far as reading style goes, a product of both psychism and mediumship combined.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. Because I mean those are lives that are lost. They're not in this realm anymore. Like they once existed and now they don't. And so it is very much the same as a mediumship of yourself.
Mm-hmm. My
mind. Ew. Ooh, that just gave me like big
that is wild.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
That made me feel things.
I never thought about that before. That made you feel
I hadn't either. That's what came out of my mouth. And I was like, whoa.
Channel message from Auryn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is wild. Yeah.
That is nuts to think about that. I don't know, that just blew my mind.
I never thought of it that way until just now.
Yeah, because like they existed in time.
Yeah.
Oh, we could go on. I mean, your soul is in so many different places at once. You're not just here. You're living that life right now. Time doesn't exist.
It's like Outlander.
Those like the invisible string theories and like the split timelines, when every decision. Oh wait, oh my God. Can I tell you guys the weirdest thing that happened to me the other night? Okay, so I was dreaming but in my dream, I was super conscious and I just kept hearing, I don't know if it was me in like another space and time or if it was someone else, but I just kept hearing, Lauren, close the door, close the door, close the door. And it was almost like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like another me had we had made some sort of connection that shouldn't have been there.
That gives me chills.
Did you know what I mean? Like, have you had those?
You were traveling.
It was almost like I shouldn't have been there. And then I was aware that it was happening. And I was like, I'm not supposed to be hearing this. And then so I was kind of like, I'm just going to see what happens. And then it like,
so you
separated.
felt that other person was you.
Yes. It was very much like, it was the weirdest thing. And like, I have read of like,
were they surprised that you were there?
We could not connect. It was weird. It was almost like, you know, when you see film like burning away and like it kind of like goes, so it was almost like it was trying to come through. Like there was almost a connection and then it just stopped.
Wow.
It was so weird. So I have nothing else besides.
So another version of you probably had that same dream.
So yes, something had to have happened where like
the lines got crossed
a little too close. And like I've seen people, I've heard there was this one woman that was talking about she went to sleep and in her dream she was like 40 years old. She had a son and then she went to sleep in her dream and then woke up in her dream in the same life. And she just like lived 20 years in this dream.
A dream within a dream.
Yes. And she was kind of like, when the am I going to wake up? And then eventually she did wake up. And then she was really sad for the 20 years she lost.
So she literally lost 20 years?
Like no. But in the dream.
Oh, in the dream.
She dreamed 20 years of this other life. She had a son. So she woke up and didn't have him anymore. And she so she was like, this was like a whole level of mourning I'd never known existed.
That's crazy.
And I know maybe that's like what deja vu is.
Absolutely.
When we're like, I have been here before. Those are the little near misses I think happened.
Absolutely.
And I'm like,
yes, I agree.
I get real suspicious. I'm like,
me too.
Same. I had it this morning when
happened.
you were at the house and I was picking up toys and putting them in the basket and I was sus. All of a sudden I'm like, Now I know I do this every day of my life, cleaning up after these kids, but this feels different.
Yeah. There's like a awareness that happens with like a touch or a sound or a thing, and you're just like,
yeah,
I know what you mean.
Something's different.
Or lately my dreams have been so real,
spicy
that I don't even know what is real.
That's why Wes isn't sleeping
and what's not. What?
Are we in Pisces?
Yes.
My son's dreams are out of this world. That's why because he's a Pisces moon.
Yep.
The new moon's coming on Sunday.
Oh, I'm about to put him in a straitjacket and
the 10th.
Seriously, he flails and talks and yells and he's borderline sleepwalks. Sean did too growing up.
I did too. I was a big walker, talker. Like you'd think I was eyes
Emily
open.
is.
I talk. Oh yeah.
My eyes would be open as a child talking to my parents. And like at first they'd be like, oh, she's awake. And then I would say something and they'd be like, oh, this kid's asleep. Like I went to walk the dog one time. I went down the stairs and my mom was just like, what the are we gonna do? Like
you have to just guide them back.
Yeah, and I mean I had the leash, the dog's not on the leash. I walked past the dog and I was like, I'm taking Mickey out. And they're like, no, you're not.
Come this
way. You're not. Can you imagine the poor dog is like, okay, take me then.
Speaking of dogs.
For our listeners, we have something really exciting. We're ambassadors. We've teamed up with ByteTag. Let me grab my dog so I can show everybody while we talk about it.
She's like, okay, what are you doing, Mom?
Oh, here's sweet baby Ray.
Oh, hi, baby Ray.
Listen, sweet baby Ray has ran away one time in our lives, and it was not her fault. It was Mark's fault. But so ByteTag makes these tags, and I have them on both of our dogs and our dogs before, because usually if a dog gets lost and someone finds it, you have to take them to the vet, check for microchips, blah, blah, blah. Each tag has a little QR code. And so if you find someone's dog, you scan it and it contacts me immediately. So like, don't have to wait for the vet. So it cuts out that middleman if your dog is lost. And I find a lot of comfort in it, knowing that there's something on them that they can immediately just be like, and so there's an app and you can mark them lost in your app. And so like someone, as soon as they scan it, I get the call or text, whatever you like have your preference as. So our listeners get 15% off when you use the code Team Spirit Pod.
Love that.
And I'll put the little image here that has the information.
Insert image.
Is it just a tag that you can put on their actual collar, like their own collar? It's not a special collar?
Nope, it's just a little tag. So you can put it on any collar. They have it for cats. There's 2 sizes, dog, cat, and there's a bunch of different designs for it. It's cute.
Does the tag say like scan me or something? Like would people know?
So it says tap, scan, search if I'm lost.
Oh, perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like straight up, I'm lost, scan this, and it doesn't have to give a lot of your information. So it's not giving out your information to strangers.
Right.
It's just the immediate connection, because we found animals and you have to get them to the vet. Like it extends the process of time when they're lost.
Yeah.
And those moments are terrifying for the person who lost their animal.
Yes.
And so it's just like it's so simple. They're really not expensive. There's no like monthly fee to have the app. It's just you get the tag.
One and done.
And also I feel like it's more of an incentive. Like people are going to be more willing to scan a tag than to take the animal to a vet.
Yeah.
Especially if people don't have pets, or they're afraid of a dog, they can so easily, without having to interact much. You don't have to get it in your car because you don't know this animal. And so there's like a comfort on both ends of, at least I know she can be found and I can be contacted quicker, and that person doesn't have to be afraid of her to get her to someone to scan her.
Perfect.
Yep.
I'm ordering mine.
Me too.
Everybody go get your ByteTags.
Yep.
If you have animals, it's a must-have.
Yep.
Thanks for participating, right? So thank you guys for tuning in. And if you want a past life reading, Carrie and Emily both do past life readings now on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Team Spirit Podcast. You can find Carrie at Clarity by Cam, CAM, and Emily at Enchanted Mystic by MK. Yep. See you next time.
Bye.